But hello, everyone. Welcome. Let's. I think we'll start in about a minute after some more people trickle in. I just wanted to share some community norms. So Karakara is gonna share her story or a presentation. So afterwards, feel free to use the chat, jump into the conversation, ask questions. This is a very informal talk, just to get to know one another and our stories. Yeah, I think that's enough people for now. So I would just like you all, well, I would just like to welcome all of you to this picnic table talk on living the dream and telling your story authentically. It's a pleasure to introduce Cara Lam. She is a content creator at Meta and is here to share her story with you all. Cara, I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you so much, Cesar. Nice to meet everyone. So I would like to tell my story about how to, live my story authentically and kind of touch on a topic of imposter syndrome a little bit. So I Googled this yesterday. Imposter syndrome is defined as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. I'm not sure if like any of you in the audience have felt that before, but I've definitely experienced that about twice in my life, I would say. And the first time was when I first landed a job as a UX writer. So I'll explain what a UX writer is. But basically after college, I moved to Japan to teach English, right? Because I was like, hey, YOLO, like I want to live in a different country for a little bit. So why not, right? When all of my friends actually started working in this serious job already, and I'm like, let's just move to Japan, right? So I moved to Japan, I started teaching English, and I also did some freelance writing on the side. And after 3 years, I was like, okay, like time to think about life. And I moved back to America. I got a job in marketing copywriting where I wrote emails and I wrote social media campaigns, like that kind of stuff. But then it was at that firm where I found out about user experience design, which is basically like designing apps, or when there's a new feature, then you kind of decide like how that looks like on an app. And when I dive even deeper into UX, there is a field called UX writing. So basically, my job as a UX writer is to write all the instructions, all the like pop up that you see on an app, and text. So any like buttons that you press, or yeah, like oh, click this to pay money to your friend, like that. That's the stuff I write. So in 2021, I got a job, my first job as a UX writer, but I've never done anything like that. Like, I got a job because I kind of like bluff my resume and portfolio, but I've never actually worked in UX writing. I had taken a lot of courses and read a lot of books, but that's really about it. And the thing is that my job was also a UX writer consultant. So I was supposed to be a subject matter expert for my client, and my client is a bank. So you can tell like people are, working in a bank, they're more serious, they kind of intense, right? So I was definitely intimidated in the beginning, and I made a lot of mistakes because I wasn't familiar with the design principles and also just the banking industry in general. So there were times where my manager would tell me that I just wasn't doing things right. For example, the main point of UX writing is really to break down complicated concepts like a jargon into something that a 5-year-old would understand. So you can imagine, right? There's a lot of jargon in banking. So my job is to break those down into actually like language that people would understand. But I think the mistake I made was to using just way too colloquial language for the bank, and I use a lot of exclamation marks, which is actually not good for a brand, because it makes you sound way too excited and not professional. And so I was making small mistakes like that, and so I decided to improve myself, right? Like, how can I, as a UX writer, not know about these best practices? So I took a lot of courses, I read books and articles on UX writing, and also just like working on the job is really helpful, right? Knowing what I'm doing wrong and how I can improve. And so months later, I finally gained the trust of my client, and they would come to me for a lot of the design problems. So I was like, okay, like great, like they're finally trusting me. I even started hosting my own UX writing workshops at work as well, to really spread the gospel of user experience and also user experience writing. Like, how can we better explain things to user and make it easier to use a product. I also started blogging my experience. So I think that really helps, like telling people about my journey. So late last year, I think at that point I had done the job for like a year. Then Instagram actually reached out and asked if I would like to interview. I was like, oh hell yeah, like I love Instagram. Like I would interview for you. But I was definitely feeling a lot of pressure because I had only done this for a year, and I know that getting into Instagram is not easy, right? So I was like, oh, like I didn't think I would get in, but then I still wanted to give it a shot because hey, like I don't want to regret. So I prepared my portfolio. I went to the interview loop, and very luckily I got the offer. So I started in April as a full-time employee at Instagram. But then, I was very nervous because first, I've only done this for a year. And second, I feel like people my age are mostly in senior or in a manager position now. And I feel like for me, like I'm really just kickstarting my career because I spent 3 years in Japan, kind of just like YOLOing. Yeah. And the third point is that I'm a minority female. And I feel like my voice might not be heard in this huge company, like huge company. But then so it's been 3 months now since I started, and I feel like, like those all the three things I just mentioned, they're really just in my head, right? Like, yes, I've only done UX writing for a year, but my previous working experiences in marketing and blogging have really helped shape my writing style and eventually got Instagram to notice me. So they're not a waste of time for me. And yes, like people my age are mostly seniors or managers now, but I'm very grateful for Meta slash Instagram too, because they provide two different career tracks. One is that you can be an individual contributor and really work on the product work, and one is to become a people manager. So yeah, those are for people who don't necessarily like working in a product team. They're more focused on like the strategy and the vision of the company. So there are two tracks for you, and that means that you can be a very senior individual contributor and not be a people manager. And so I think that takes a lot of pressure just off my shoulder, thinking that I'm behind my friends. And the last point, yes, I'm a minority female, but there are actually also a lot of different, there is very diverse here, and there are a lot of minority female that are high up in the ladder in the company. So I know that this company invests a lot in diversity and inclusion. And honestly, you can feel it from just talking to your coworkers because everyone is very friendly and very supportive and welcoming. So it's really people really think of you like in terms of your expertise and not really your ethnicity or your gender, not anything like that. So if you ask me now, like, do I feel imposter syndrome? I would say not so much anymore, honestly, because I also know that I'm not the only one feeling it. And also I just feel like the beauty of diversity is really having people from all walks of life to offer their opinions. And I think I also like share my feelings of imposter syndrome with my friends, with my on LinkedIn as well, and you see it come up all the time. And so knowing that there's a community out there for you is very important. So that's kind of the end of my story, just about my experience with imposter syndrome. I kind of want to open up the floor and encourage any discussion. I see a chat kind of popping off. So yeah, my first question for you guys is, have you ever felt imposter syndrome, and when? How was that? Like, it's totally okay to be vulnerable here. Like, we're all trying to be our true selves. And yeah, like, does anyone want to maybe unmute yourself or type in a chat about your experience?
Wait, I have a question. Well, also kind of like a comment. Like,
Mhm.
is imposter syndrome kind of like faking it till you make it with a different mindset?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I think that's part of it. So I Googled this last night. It's
Mhm.
also like when you have achieved something and you don't believe that you deserve it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it actually affects a lot of high achieving people. Yeah.
Mhm.
And like, the feeling of like you're a fraud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I do feel those feelings sometimes. I feel like what I'm providing is not up to par. Like,
Hmm.
for example, even with this DJing stuff that I've been doing like for a few months, it's just hard to like get into it and
Hmm.
feel like I have value to my name when I'm just starting out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's kind of imposter syndrome, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think it affects a lot of us when we're just starting out in
Right.
something.
Hmm.
So, it will get better as time goes by. Just like for me, it's only been 3 months and I already feel a lot better. So definitely, as you hone in on your skill and gain more trust
Hmm.
from the people around you, I think that will also improve.
Right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and Renwick, yeah, I think Renwick has a hand up. Oh, okay. I always have trouble expressing myself, but the best way I do that is through my clothes and embroidery. And that's great, right? Like finding your own like style and identity. I think, yeah, that's an important part. And I have so much to talk about that actually, because I spent 3 years in Japan, right? And I feel like Japan is super different from America in the way that you're supposed to kind of act the same way as everyone else around you. So, and that goes to your clothes, you know, your makeup, how you present yourself, the language you use. I just remember living in Tokyo, and I remember thinking that everyone around me looks the same. And, you know, like, and I hate to think that. And then being back in America, I'm like, wow, like people dress all differently. You know, like people have like very conspicuous clothes and makeup and just, you know, how they dress themselves. So I definitely feel more comfortable here where you can actually like express yourself in different ways. Yeah. Oh yay, we have new members. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for sharing just now. So, okay, my second question is that, you know, how, you know, we talked about some ways to overcome imposter syndrome as well, but then how do you think you could overcome imposter syndrome? Is there any people that we can go to make us feel better? I know for me, it would be my friends and LinkedIn, because I know a lot of people share their professional experiences and how they got there online. But yeah, I'm curious to see what this group thinks. Like, who would be the people that you go to? Older brother, yeah, family.
Definitely like my closest friends who I know will tell me the truth. And like,
Yeah,
yeah, not like, yeah, just keep it real with me.
yeah, no, definitely,
Mhm.
definitely. Cool. So my last question is, so what is success for you? Like what makes you happy? Kind of moving away from imposter syndrome a little bit, but
For me, it's lifting. I love lifting so much.
yeah, food. Okay. So we got sports, we got food. I know for me it's meeting new people and also traveling to new places. Anything else? No need to be shy, everyone.
I can definitely agree. I love traveling and exploring new places, as well
Yeah.
as music, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not it for the DJ. Friends, family, music. That's great. And I love to hear that, because as long as we remember what happiness means to us and what success means to us, there's no need to really compare ourselves with other people. And I think, you know, imposter syndrome stems from comparing ourselves with other people as well, like thinking that we're not deserving of what we have achieved. So I just want us, you know, this small circle here to always remember how far we have come and what really what, you know, brings value to your life. And just remember that we all have our own paths, right? It may take us a little longer to get where we want to be, but that's okay. Like life's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm, you know, pretty happy about where I am today. And I hope that you are too. And just work hard to chase your dreams.
Awesome. Thank you, Cara, and thank you everyone for joining this breakout session. So we're going to close it now, and everyone can head back to the main stage. But thank you one more time to Cara.
Yep. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shiza.